super excited to head inside the Sacramento Wyndham Card Show. You know, a lot of people have their local card shows, but I've got a really good local card show. I look forward to it every year. It's about once a quarter. It's about 4 or 5 times a year, and tons of vintage stuff. Excited to go inside. There's a few dealers that I'm hoping will show up. We will find out here in a moment, and I'm gonna go in, hopefully make some buys today. So in I go to this Wyndham Hotel. They hold this show here about 4 or 5 times a year, and I got there right as it was opening, and it started filling in pretty quickly. You can see quite a few people already here right at the start. And whenever there's a dealer that I don't recognize, I try to hit their tables early on. Never seen this dealer before. He was out of Salt Lake City. Lots of vintage. You can see he has some Gaudis, T205s, T206s there. Some 52 tops. A lot of raw stuff. He did have a few graded cards, but most of his cards were raw. And you can see he's got a Nolan Ryan, a Jackie Robinson, a bunch of 57s, 58s, 59s, 61s, 62s. A lot of good stuff. Again, so being new to this show, I headed over there right away. And he had some slabbed up stuff, not a ton of graded stuff. A few different slabs he had. And so I'm going through those. And he did have some football as well. He actually had some Bowman football.
Are all the T205s commons, or are there any?
You could hear me talking to him about the T205 stack of cards that he had that I asked to take a look at.
Yeah. It says rare back. Which back is it?
It's, I think, the polar bear.
Yeah, he was asking quite a bit for these T205 commons, but in fairness, they're in pretty good shape. Those gold borders scuff up really easily, and these ones were pretty darn decent for T205s. A lot of people like the T205s better than the T206s because of those gold borders and because of the color. And then the pictures are, the images are a little bit tighter. Get a better look at the player than the T206s. So I'm going through these. None of these ended up fitting what I was looking for, but they are always fun to look at. So my dad made a pretty cool purchase early in the day. He bought these 1967 photos. Now, pretty good size. He bought the whole lot of them for about $100. The Clemente and the Mays sell for a little bit more than that usually, but the prices are kind of all over the place on these. A lot of Hall of Famers, Yastrzemski, Killebrew, K-Line. So he loves stuff like this. You can see as I turn it over here, some of the information on the back. Those are very cool. And my guy Mitch, he's from Southern California. He was here, back in January. I bought a few Bowman cards from him. He's got some of the nicest raw stuff. So I went over to his table early on. He's got some really nice 52 Bowmans I'm looking at here. And, you know, most of the really nice raw vintage stuff at this point has been put into slabs, and Mitch really prefers his stuff ungraded, so cool spawn there. And one of my favorite cards, that Stan Musial. And so he's got just tons and tons. He does have a lot of graded stuff too, you can see in the background, and we'll take a look at here in a second. That Bob Feller is a really cool card. There's Mitch's information if you wanted to reach out to him, his email address and cell number. He's also on Instagram. And then we got some more Bowmans here. A couple of stacks I decided to take a look at. I love how he has all of his cards priced. Seems like it's a growing trend that a lot of dealers are not putting prices on the front of their cards. Now, these piles were mostly the Hall of Famers or stars, but he also had several boxes of different commons, also in really nice shape. So if you're looking for anything from the 50s and early 60s, and you're looking for it raw, I'd recommend reaching out to Mitch. Really nice guy. I was hoping he would be at the show and was pleasantly surprised when I saw that he was there. Spent a lot of time at his table because he is a lot of fun to talk to, but also he's got so much stuff. Now when I look, a lot of dealers are doing piles and boxes nowadays because they can have more cards displayed. Again, you got Ralph Kiner and Robert Roberts, and you see the Warren Spahn on the top of the pile. You got that nice Roy Campanella and Duke Snider. I mean, and these cards are in really, really nice shape. Early win, and you got that cool Casey Stengel, and then he had some graded stuff as well. I'm a big Warren Spahn guy now. I was kind of looking over my shoulder. He's talking to a guy he's working on a deal with, and the guy had a big lot of cards, and one of them was a 58 Maze that caught my eye. But they're trying to work out a deal, so it's not in the pile. But I like the 58 Maze card a lot. It's just so expensive. I've never been able to consider one in a high grade. Again, lots of great stuff at Mitch's table. And I keep going through it, so
yeah, some of his lower
again, more 58s here. Yogi Berra, Larry Doby.
Yeah.
He bought a collection recently that had a lot of graded cards, and it was an older guy, and the cards have been graded for quite a while, so you'll notice on quite a few of these slabs, they're older slabs because they came out of that collection he bought. Got some 62s there. Cool mantle in an SGC. Again, I spent quite a bit of time at his table today. Plus, he's fun to talk to. You can see there the boxes that had all the commons and minor stars. Cool 65 Yastrzemski. But yeah, those boxes down in the background there, those were some of the sharpest commons and minor stars you'll see. Here's some here, some Gaudis and different things from pre-war era. Now there's one card in this pile that caught my eye and I really gave a good look to. And you'll see it's coming up here in just a second. There it is, Sam Rice. Now, I actually came across his autograph, kind of a long story, but was given his autograph about a week ago. And so the thought of grabbing his rookie card to pair up with that really intrigued me. But I ended up not quite pulling the trigger, although thinking of a card that's nearly 100 years old, a Hall of Famer, their rookie card, is kind of amazing to think that it's only under $150. But again, I went through a lot more cards at his table than I'm going to show you today, just because I wanted to kind of keep things moving for you. But got some play balls, a little bit of everything at his table. And then before I continued my lap around, I went through a few more graded cards. Got a couple 41 play balls there. And then I'm a sucker for the 50 Bowmans. 50 and 51 Bowman are two of my favorite sets. And
Thank you.
I have some of these 50 Bowmans, but there are several I don't have. And a couple more piles I'm taking a look at here. Got a cool Whitey Ford rookie card. Got that Phil Rizzuto. And I really looked at this Roy Campanella several times, actually. It's a 3. Side-to-side centering's great. Top to bottom, it's off a little bit, but it's a pretty nice-looking 3. And I'd love to have that 51 Campanella in my collection. Some cool 55s. You can see the long barcode there. That's the original PSA holder on that Yogi Berra. And then we've got some 57s. Again, I'm just giving you the highlights of some of the stuff I checked out at this table. If I gave you the full version, it would have taken quite a bit of time.
Collection. He was tired of it.
And again, a few Gaudis here at the end of this first stop at his table before continuing around the rest of the show. And some 34 Gaudis as well. And this crackerjack of a Hall of Famer who I just talked about in my pre-war Players to Target video. Got that cool Bob Feller rookie there on the top. And then this Jimmy Fox. Had a little bit of paper loss on the Jimmy Fox. Otherwise, man, really well centered. I love these cards. Really, really good stuff. Again, I love going through the piles for you as well because it gives you a chance to see a lot of stuff, especially when you have a dealer like Mitch who has prices on the cards. You can see what they're asking. Again, if there's anything in here that catches your eye, there's a cool Willie Mays. Love the 56s. That 56 Mantle's my favorite Mantle. But you could always reach out to a guy like Mitch. And I believe he said he was going to be at the Burbank Card Show here coming up in a month or two. I'm actually thinking about making the trip down for that show. Haven't decided for sure. Seeing how I'm not going to be able to make the National this year. And my favorite Clemente card right there staring at me. Love that card too. But seeing as how I'm not going to make the National, I am thinking about going down to that Burbank Card Show. It's supposed to be 700 tables at the Anaheim Convention Center across the street from Disneyland. It's one of the bigger convention centers on the entire West Coast. Love that Warren Spahn. Cool Ernie Banks. I was just thinking about today how I don't have an Ernie Banks card in my collection, believe it or not. Got to see a bunch of subscribers and stuff today. Probably had 10 people come up and talk to me. It was a lot of fun getting to meet all of you. Appreciate everybody who came up and said hello. This is a great table with all sorts of vintage. Got some basketball in there too, and even some football. Love that 52 Warren Spahn, and next to the 51 Spahn. Bunch of 57 tops in this case. Really good looking stuff. As I came up to this case, got a couple of pre-war Jack Johnson cards staring at me. One in a 2 and one in a 1.5. Those cards, super cool. I've gotten into this itch for pre-war boxing cards, and not many names bigger than Jack Johnson.
I was gonna send these. Yeah.
Keep looking. Got some
I mean, I already have them. I have an order out.
football stuff, baseball, a little everything at this particular table.
Can I take a look at these two?
Again, I asked to take a look at the two Jack Johnsons. One's in an SGC2. I think he was asking $200 for this one. And this one a little bit off center, but still a decent looking 1.5. I might think of a 1.5 as a total dog, and this thing wasn't. Really good eye appeal. And then this one he was asking $250 on. And really well centered. Again, good eye appeal. There's a little bit of coloring issue on the back.
It goes. I think it's $250 and $2.
You could see me asking about the prices because he didn't have them marked. Right after I walked away, I saw him pull out his little price gun and sticker those up. Now, Tommy John, he was asking $15 on that Tommy John rookie card, which I probably should have grabbed it. Anytime you can get a nice looking Tommy John rookie card for under $20, I think that you probably should, though I didn't. I think he's an eventual Hall of Famer, and when he does, I think his cards are going to go up by quite a bit. But he just had this kind of little bargain box here, and that's the card with two Hall of Famers on the same rookie card. But he had everything from Bowman's in here to 70s cards. You can see the box on the left had some football. But again, I'm really thinking about that Tommy John. It's just the centering that I think held me back a little bit, but that's probably the reason the price wasn't higher. Pretty good looking 75 Hank Aaron. He had several Dave Winfields in these pile. That was a nice 79 Nolan Ryan. Maybe should have grabbed that one. It's always funny when you look back and you go, oh, why didn't I do that? But cool Ryan Sandberg rookie. Yeah, he had multiple Dave Winfield rookie cards. They were all a little touched up, but still the prices weren't crazy.
As soon as I saw him walk up, I did a circle and looked.
There's that 63 Fleer set I like a lot. I did a video on recently. Some Yastrzemski and another Nolan Ryan. I mean, some really decent looking cards at very reasonable prices. I love the 69 football set. It's a pretty decent looking Joe Namath. Lawrence Taylor rookie, Dan Fouts rookie. Thought about the Dan Fouts rookie because Dan Fouts does sign through the mail. Be kind of cool to get his rookie card autographed. I remember as a kid that Troy Aikman was one of the football grail cards for a lot of us. Now they're selling at about $10. Eric Dickerson rookie. And a few basketball in there as well. So really quality stuff at that table. And then I kept moving around and looked here, and again another boxing card jumping out at me there. And now these cards were very reasonably priced, but they were pretty touched up. So I asked to take a look at this one, and it's certainly a little beat up and $75. It's probably a fair price for Jack Dempsey. The problem was the pinhole I'm pointing out there. If it didn't have the pinhole, I probably would have done it. But when you get a pinhole, it's an automatic 1. And for me, there's something about a pinhole that drives me a little bit crazy. A lot of good stuff in this case. Again, this is just a local show. Kind of amazing. So then I met this dealer. He's got some really cool stuff. He had a lot of cool old boxing cards. Really nice guy. You can see he's got a Rocky Marciano exhibits there on the right.
It's a win-win.
Lot of cool old boxing cards. I'm really into that kind of stuff right now for whatever reason. You can see a Babe Ruth look and see right there in the middle of your screen I'm asking him about. I'll continue to say I love that look and see set and would encourage any of you who aren't collecting it to start considering doing so. So I asked to take a look at this stack of boxing cards. Again, if there's anything that you're interested in, I've got this dealer's email address at the bottom of the screen. But these are just beautiful cards. A lot of them were in pretty good condition, really, if you think about it. The stack was almost all boxing, and then there were a few billiards players. So you can see one there, and there's another. And he was asking $15 a piece for these, and I thought that was a pretty fair price. Some of them are, you know, a little rougher than others, but they're all, you know, pretty decent condition, good eye appeal, good color. I was asking him if he had any of the bigger name boxers from then, and he mentioned that he had a card in this second pile that had John L. Sullivan in it, and so he was telling me again that he was asking $15 a piece for these, but he would sell me the card, the Sullivan card that I'm coming up on, for $10, which I thought was very reasonable. I think it was in the third of the 3 stacks that I ended up finding it. But I just love the look of these things. And you can hear him. You can hear him there tell me he'd sell me the John L. Sullivan for $10. It was a fight card. You could see it there. And to me, you know, for $10, when you have one of the all-time greats on it, I'm going to buy that pretty much every time. But really beautiful card. Such a nice guy. Met him for the first time today. He had been at a show I had been at before, but we had never really spoken much before today.
I'm going to look through this other box too.
So I pulled that one out. Ended up looking through some other things and settling on just this one card. So that was the first deal of the day, $10 for that card. Really excited to pick it up. Again, that is sort of my thing lately, is a lot of pre-war stuff, boxing, but just anything pre-war, in addition to all of the other stuff that I've been chasing for so long. So here's a better look at the card. This is a T220 from 1910. And you can see it is put out by Mecca, which is a tobacco company. They did a lot of cards back then. And when you get a look at it here, it's got a couple of surface scratches on it, but no creasing. Pretty darn well centered. The corners are obviously pretty well rounded, but love that card. Really happy to pick it up. And went ahead and kept on moving along here. And you can see a lot of pre-war stuff in this case. All sorts of things from Goudies, T205s, T206s, other tobacco cards. Then I found this guy. Never seen him before, so this 64 Banks jumped out at me. He was asking 100 on it. It's a PSA 6 and looked really sharp to me. So kept going through this box. That 69 Banks looked pretty nice as well. Prices were very reasonable. Got into some Koufax cards. Really liked that 61 Koufax as well. There's a 63, and then this 64 jumped out. This one's a 6. It's an older label 6, but looked really nice. And the more I went through this box, the more I kept kind of thinking maybe there's a deal to be had at this table. He had some mantles in here, and he had all sorts of good stuff. He had them separated out pretty well by player. And these were all slabbed up. He did have some raw stuff as well, which was also very nice. Again, lots of mantles. He's working on a big deal right now over to my left with a guy who had spent some time at his table. Second year Eddie Matthews.
Pretty good shape.
Just lots of good stuff. So I was kind of thinking, I usually when I go through a box like this, I kind of first take an inventory and then I go back and kind of take a better, closer look at some of the cards that catch my eye. And on that first lap through, it was that 61 Koufax, the 64 Koufax, the 64 Banks that kind of stood out to me. So, got some usuals. He had a lot of 62s in this box. So I ended up, after going through the box, again, going back to those three and taking a closer look. So I pulled out the 64 Banks and the 64 Koufax, and then I saw this maze, and it seemed really affordable to me. It's like usually like a $200 card, and he's asking $150, and it looked really sharp, and it's pretty well centered for a 1960 Willie Mays in a 4. The Banks and the Koufax are both 6s, and that Mays is a 4. So I decided to see if we could figure out a deal on these three.
Yeah.
What could you do on these three?
Yeah.
Hey, how are you? Been a while.
We have 170, 270. I could probably go 250.
How much?
250.
250 on the three.
Yeah. So when I priced, so these are going to be pretty much right at comps, like 95% of comps. So I don't have a ton of room on those.
But they're 370. And the total's 370.
Oh, Jesus.
He obviously made a little quick math error.
350. I'm sorry.
I didn't feel comfortable taking advantage of that.
Yeah. That would be my floor. I mean, that's if you look at recent prices, you're probably going to find that those three probably are around 4, but
Okay.
yeah, you too.
Okay. I don't think I could do that high.
What's your ceiling?
I was hoping you would say 300, but I understand.
If you wanted to meet me in the middle at 330.
That's the middle?
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, I don't think I can do that. I could probably meet you between 330 and 3 at 315. But that would be like my max.
You want to do 320?
Yeah, I'll do 320. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
So really excited on this deal. So first off, we've got this Sandy Koufax, and this is a card that will, Usually selling a 6 in nice condition. This is an older label 6, but to me, it holds up. It's really sharp for a 6. You can get a better look at it here. I mean, that's a really sharp car, pretty well centered. I mean, to me, this is probably at least $130 car. Really well centered, great condition. And then this Banks, I just think this is a really good looking card. It's a great picture and it's super sharp. This is a newer label 6 and it's also very sharp. I was just mentioning I didn't have an Ernie Banks in my collection. Well, looks like I do now. So this is a 64 Banks. You can see again, really sharp. I mean, the fact that a card like this is only a 6 nowadays is kind of crazy. But really like that card as well. So a couple of 64s, and then this Willie Mays 1960, all the comps I looked up were right around $200 on it. It's pretty darn well centered, really good color. It's a newer grade, and when we get a better look at this one, I mean, I really like the looks of this card, and he was asking $150. So that was a great deal to get all 3 of those cards for $320. So as I kept moving around, there's some memorabilia stuff out and about.
Take it out.
Oh, see, he's like a car salesman. Just take it for a spin. See what you think. Back at Mitch's table, and
If there's any chance of you buying it, you have to have it at your
I'm
hand.
giving this 58 Maze a really good look.
So if you want the Maze,
Uh-oh.
95,
Oh, look at this guy.
20% off.
So the sticker price was
I don't even have
$120 on it.
95. See how this game goes?
Did you spend it all?
Brought a couple of things.
I have a lot of 70s. I just couldn't.
I
bring
do
them.
have 95.
I'm from Southern California. Transporting bulk was
Bad do you want
an
it?
issue. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. I have exact change too. It doesn't really have like creases. It's just severely rounded corners.
And it's a.
You know what? I'm going to do it. I was hoping you guys would come, and you're here,
Cool.
and I want to buy something from you guys.
Beautiful.
So we're going to do it. There is,
One teacher to another.
yeah, one,
Keep it in the teacher
just-
family.
So here is the 58 Willie Mays. Now this is a 2, and it obviously has a lot of corner wear, but the color on it's great. The centering on it is great. It doesn't have a crease, but it just has really rounded corners. But to me, the eye appeal on this 2 is pretty darn good. And anytime you can buy a Willie Mays card from the 1950s for under $100 without a crease, I think you're doing pretty well. You got a Y.A. Tittle rookie, a Hugh McElhaney rookie, some newer stuff in the rest of the case there, and then some baseball here. There's a cool Willie Mays up there in a 6, even a T206. That Tom Seaver, 75 Tom Seaver, was super sharp. You can see it again right there. But that pretty much does it for the show. Yet again, an awesome card show in Sacramento.